Sorry.
Okay. So I'm just
Story, but yeah.
to just talk about, well, I could talk about the stories that we get at Families for Freedom. We have a hotline that immigrants can give us a call when they get detained by immigration. And the stories that we get from this hotline about New Yorkers, right, have probably the widest range of how they got into immigration detention. 90% of the stories we get, even more, start with contact with the NYPD. Now that contact comes at, is various contact, right? And a lot of the times what we're seeing is can be this misunderstanding of the culture that we come from, right? Especially in high impact zones where you have rookies going into these communities that do have a lot of sort of activity, right? Whether that's drugs or crime or whatever they want to call it. So as a culture, we've learned to resolve certain issues and situations with the systems that we have. And an issue, let's say, between two teenagers results in a spat, right? The dual arrest law comes into place, so both of them will have to go down to the precinct to get worked out, right, in a situation like that. Because if the officer will not know how to resolve that, and basically both people will have to go to jail. And if any of them are non-citizens, right, or undocumented, or non-citizens with a criminal conviction, that could lead them into a deportation proceedings. Another situation would sort of be reporting crimes, right? And that's kind of the biggest fear that we have, is that our communities will then not be able to report crimes to the NYPD because we will be afraid to get deported. And that's, again, due to sort of the way that the NYPD kind of culturally, if you don't culturally understand the community, then the only thing that you're going to know how to do as far as, options to resolve the situation is go down to the precinct. And that's why something like secure communities is going to be really, really bad and really negative. Right now, our stories come from, those that have made it to Rikers Island. And they might have done 2 days. We have one story where it was basically kind of an open container type situation, and he only had to do a couple of days in Rikers. He's been in immigration detention for about 23 months now. It's little things like that that really sort of affect that population really bad. And so now you have a broken family in Brooklyn. The mother has spent so much money on her son trying to get out, on lawyers. Now she is, living with someone else, had to leave her apartment. And that's, and that is actually in the same community that I come from. That's the story from Crown Heights. Another, again, a high impact zone areas where, he probably was out there, whatever, open container. But again, because of a cultural misunderstanding, cops get heated, he got heated, and, he's now on his way back to the islands. Situations like that where it's really important to sort of stress that a program like Secure Communities, and even combined with Stop and Frisk, is just basically a recipe for disaster and for our communities, because it will basically alienate us away from the NYPD. And what that means is that crime will probably increase, but it won't probably be documented as that, because then we would have to resolve these issues outside of the law, basically.
Can you explain secure communities?
So explain Secure Communities, and basically what Secure Communities, it's a program that takes fingerprints from the precinct. They normally, as they always have, they always go to the FBI, but now it will not only go to the FBI, but it will also go to immigration. And if immigration considers you deportable, which is basically if you're undocumented and if you're a non-citizen with criminal convictions, the chances of you being deportable are extremely high. And Secure Communities will then put a hit out on your name. And then that's where the process will basically start from there, where as it stands right now and where it has stand for some time now is that it is only until you get into the jails, it is only until you get to Rikers, and that immigration has contact with you. And so now if immigration has contact with you at the precinct, and if we can sort of, start to understand all of the reasons why a person makes it to the precinct in our communities, because the precinct is a very live place. The precinct is a part of our community, right? There are many people in our communities go to the precinct. We call it checking in, So then now we have a serious issue where checking into the precinct can mean that you're deported and your family is broken. And when we say broken, we really mean just completely decimated.
This is kind of federal level. How do you think the NYPD could handle things better?
How can NYPD handle things better?
Anything they can do on their side that could actually make this situation, improve the situation a little bit?
The biggest thing is basically go back to community policing. That's the biggest thing. Get to know the community a lot better. Get to know the players. And if you're out there trying to just see people as a number, which is what the deportation system sees us as, they don't see us as having families. They don't see us as part of a community. They just see us as a young black or Latino person, and they want you out of here because they don't understand us. And so I guess for the NYPD is to start going back to the community and going back to its mandate, and not a mandate of, the more arrests we have, that means the more criminals we have, which is completely, it's a lie. But what happens is now that the more arrests they have, we don't get to get out of the precinct. The only time we get out is when we're back home in our home countries. And I won't even call it home countries when we're in a foreign land, really.